Welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving deep into one of the most persistent enemies of human potential, self-doubt. That nagging voice that whispers, "You're not good enough, you'll fail," or "Who are you to think you can do this?" Self-doubt isn't just an inconvenience, it's a prison we build for ourselves, one limiting belief at a time. But here's what the ancient Stoics understood, that modern psychology is just catching up to. Self-doubt isn't about your circumstances, your past failures, or even your current abilities. It's about your relationship with your own thoughts. The Stoics faced uncertainty, rejection, exile, and death with unshakable inner strength. They developed practical techniques that transformed ordinary people into philosophical warriors. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire while battling his own inner critic. Epictetus went from slave to one of history's most influential teachers. Seneca navigated the treacherous waters of Roman politics while maintaining his principles. What did they know that we've forgotten? How much of your potential remains locked away because you're waiting for permission from your own mind? How many opportunities have you missed because self-doubt convinced you that you weren't ready, weren't worthy, or weren't capable? The Stoics would tell you that this is the only tragedy that truly matters, not the external circumstances you can't control, but the internal surrender to forces that exist only in your imagination. In the next 20 minutes, I'm going to share 8 powerful Stoic techniques that will help you eliminate self-doubt at its source. These aren't feel-good platitudes or temporary motivation. They're battle-tested strategies for building unshakable confidence from the inside out. The foundation of all Stoic philosophy and the most powerful weapon against self-doubt is understanding what Epictetus called the fundamental rule. Some things are up to us, and some things are not. Self-doubt thrives in the space between these two categories. It convinces you to worry about outcomes you can't control while neglecting the actions you can take right now. Think about the last time you felt paralyzed by self-doubt. Were you focused on what people might think? That's not up to you. Were you worried about whether you'd succeed? That's not entirely up to you either. Were you concerned about looking foolish? Again, not your call. But here's what is up to you: your effort, your preparation, your decision to act despite uncertainty, your choice to learn from whatever happens. When you consistently redirect your focus from uncontrollable outcomes to controllable actions, self-doubt loses its power. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This isn't philosophical theory, it's a daily practice. Before any situation that triggers self-doubt, write down 2 lists. First, everything you're worried about that's outside your control. Second, everything you can actually influence through your choices and actions. Spend 0 mental energy on list 1. Pour all your focus into list 2. When self-doubt whispers, "What if you fail?" respond with, "That's not up to me. What is up to me is giving my best effort with complete focus." This simple shift transforms anxiety into purposeful action. Now, this might seem counterintuitive for building confidence, but the second technique is one of the most powerful for eliminating self-doubt: negative visualization. The Stoics regularly imagined loss, failure, and setbacks not to invite them, but to remove their psychological power. Self-doubt is often fear in disguise, fear of failure, rejection, or embarrassment. But when you've already mentally rehearsed these scenarios, they lose their ability to paralyze you. Seneca practiced this by regularly imagining the loss of his wealth, status, and even his life. This wasn't morbid pessimism, It was psychological preparation. When you've already accepted the worst-case scenario, you're free to act without the desperate attachment that breeds self-doubt. Consider public speaking, a common source of self-doubt. Instead of trying to convince yourself that nothing will go wrong, imagine everything that could go wrong. You forget your words. People look bored. Someone asks a question you can't answer. Now, having faced these fears mentally, notice how much less power they have over you. Start by imagining temporary setbacks in your current project or goal, seeing yourself handling them with grace and learning from the experience. Then imagine more significant failures or losses, visualizing yourself adapting, growing stronger, and finding new opportunities. Finally, imagine the loss of everything you're attached to: status, possessions, even relationships. Connect with the inner strength that remains when everything external is stripped away. This practice doesn't make you pessimistic. It makes you anti-fragile. When you're not desperately clinging to specific outcomes, you can act with genuine confidence. The third technique comes from Marcus Aurelius, who frequently used a mental exercise he called taking the view from above, imagining himself and his problems from a cosmic perspective. This technique is devastatingly effective against self-doubt because it reveals the true scale of our concerns. From space, your presentation tomorrow, your job interview, or your creative project appears incredibly small. This isn't meant to diminish the importance of your goals, but to right-size your fears. Self-doubt convinces you that your current challenge is uniquely important, that failure would be catastrophic, that everyone is watching and judging. The view from above reveals these thoughts as the cognitive distortions they are. Try 3 perspectives. First, zoom out geographically from your immediate location to your city, state, country, continent, planet. Notice how your current worry shrinks in significance. Then consider the temporal perspective, how you'll view this situation in a week, a year, a decade. Will it matter? Will you even remember it? Finally, think historically of all the humans who've lived before you, faced similar challenges, and are now gone. Your ancestors overcame wars, famines, and countless obstacles to give you this moment. When you're feeling overwhelmed by self-doubt about a decision or action, take the view from above. Ask yourself, in the grand scheme of existence, how significant is this really? This isn't about minimizing your goals, but about maximizing your courage. The Stoics understood that most of what we worry about is trivial from a broader perspective, and what isn't trivial is made manageable by accepting its place in the larger order of things. The fourth technique recognizes that self-doubt is a time traveler. It lives in imagined futures and replayed pasts. It feeds on what-if scenarios and if-only regrets. The present moment is where self-doubt goes to die. Epictetus taught that we suffer more in imagination than reality. When you anchor yourself fully in the present moment, you discover something remarkable. Right now, in this exact moment, you are safe, capable, and complete. When self-doubt arises, ask yourself these questions. What exactly is happening right now? What am I actually experiencing in my body at this moment? What can I do right now, today, in the next hour? Notice how self-doubt dissolves when confronted with present-moment reality. The anxiety exists in your projections, not in your current experience. The Stoics used controlled breathing to maintain present-moment awareness. When self-doubt strikes, try this. Breathe in for 4 counts while thinking, I'm here now. Hold for 4 counts while thinking, I am capable now. Breathe out for 4 counts while thinking, I act with wisdom now. This isn't just relaxation, it's recalibration. You're training your mind to operate from presence rather than anxiety. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, confine yourself to the present. This wasn't about ignoring the future, but about recognizing that all power exists in the current moment. Your past doesn't define your capabilities today, and imagined future failures have no power over present actions. The fifth technique might seem morbid, but it's actually one of the most liberating practices in the Stoic toolkit, remembering that you must die. Self-doubt convinces you that you have unlimited time to prepare, to wait for perfect conditions, to overcome every fear before you act. Memento mori cuts through this illusion with crystal clarity. Your time is finite, and every day spent in the paralysis of self-doubt is a day that can never be recovered. The Stoics didn't contemplate death to become depressed, but to become urgently alive. When you truly grasp the temporary nature of your existence, many fears reveal themselves as luxuries you can't afford. When facing a decision clouded by self-doubt, imagine yourself at the end of your life. From that perspective, would you regret taking action or playing it safe? Would you regret the embarrassment of trying and failing, or the emptiness of never trying at all? This isn't about being reckless, but about recognizing that the greatest risk is often inaction. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." Each morning, remind yourself, this could be my last day to pursue my goals, express my creativity, or overcome my limitations. This isn't meant to create anxiety, but to burn away the non-essential concerns that fuel self-doubt. When you remember that your time is limited, you stop waiting for permission from your fears. You stop requiring guarantees before you act. You recognize that the only true failure is failing to try while you still can. The sixth technique challenges our modern understanding of success and failure with a radical Stoic belief. Virtue is the only true good, and therefore the only true source of confidence. Self-doubt often stems from tying our self-worth to external outcomes: wealth, recognition, approval, or achievement. But these are all outside our complete control, making them unreliable foundations for confidence. The Stoics focused on four cardinal virtues: wisdom, which means acting from knowledge and good judgment rather than ignorance or impulse; justice, treating others fairly and fulfilling your duties to society; courage, facing challenges with bravery and persistence; and temperance, maintaining self-control and moderation. When you focus on embodying these virtues rather than achieving specific outcomes, self-doubt loses its grip. You can't control whether people like your work, but you can control whether you create it with wisdom and courage. You can't control whether you get the job, but you can control whether you prepare thoroughly and present yourself honestly. Before any challenging situation, ask yourself, how can I demonstrate wisdom in this situation? How can I act with justice and fairness? How can I show courage despite my fears? How can I maintain self-control regardless of the outcome? When your confidence is rooted in virtue rather than results, it becomes unshakable. External circumstances may change, but your ability to act virtuously remains constant. Marcus Aurelius faced plagues, wars, and betrayals, but his confidence never wavered because it was grounded in his commitment to virtue, not in his ability to control outcomes. The seventh technique involves mastering the art of seeing things as they really are, stripped of the emotional interpretations that fuel self-doubt. The Stoics called this objective representation, describing situations in purely factual terms without added drama or catastrophizing. Self-doubt thrives on exaggeration. It takes neutral events and transforms them into threats to your identity, worth, or future. Instead of thinking, "Everyone will think I'm an idiot if I mess up this presentation. My career will be ruined and I'll never recover from the embarrassment," objective representation would say, "I will stand in front of a group of people and share information. Some may have different opinions about my content or delivery. My career trajectory depends on many factors over many years." The process is simple. First, identify the factual elements of the situation. What exactly is happening without interpretation? Second, notice what emotional stories you're adding to these facts. What assumptions, predictions, or judgments are you layering on top of reality? Third, return to the facts and respond from that grounded perspective rather than from the emotional narrative. Marcus Aurelius practiced this constantly in his meditations, describing challenging situations in stark, factual terms. This wasn't cold detachment, but clear thinking that enabled effective action. When you see situations objectively, you realize that most of what creates self-doubt exists only in your interpretation, not in reality itself. The final and perhaps most powerful technique is what philosopher Pierre Hadot called the inner citadel, the unassailable core of yourself that remains untouched by external circumstances. Self-doubt attacks the periphery of your identity, your reputation, your performance, your social standing. But the Stoics discovered something remarkable. There's a part of you that can never be diminished by external events. And when you connect with this inner citadel, self-doubt becomes impossible. The inner citadel is built from several unshakable truths. Your worth is not determined by your performance, but by your humanity. Your dignity cannot be taken away by others' opinions or actions. Your capacity for growth and virtue remains intact, regardless of past failures. Your freedom to choose your response exists in every moment, no matter how constrained your circumstances. Epictetus, who spent years as a slave, discovered that no external force could touch his inner freedom. No matter what happened to his body or circumstances, his mind remained sovereign territory. Each morning, remind yourself, "I am more than my achievements or failures. My worth is inherent, not earned. No external event can diminish my essential self. I always retain the freedom to choose my attitude and response." When self-doubt attacks, retreat to your inner citadel. From this unassailable position, you can act with courage because you know that your core self remains safe, regardless of outcomes. This isn't about arrogance or delusion, but about recognizing the indestructible dignity that exists at your center. When you operate from this place, self-doubt becomes not just manageable, but irrelevant. The ancient Stoics faced the same internal battles we face today. The difference is that they developed practical tools to win those battles consistently. These 8 techniques aren't theoretical concepts. They're weapons in the war against self-doubt. Focus only on what's truly up to you. Use negative visualization to remove fear's power. Take the view from above to right-size your concerns. Anchor yourself in present moment reality. Let mortality create urgency and perspective. Ground your confidence in virtue, not outcomes. See situations objectively without emotional distortion. Connect with your unshakable inner citadel. The path forward is clear. Choose one of these techniques and practice it for the next week. Notice how it changes your relationship with self-doubt. Then add another technique the following week. Within 2 months, you'll have built an arsenal of Stoic tools that make self-doubt not just manageable, but powerless. Your potential is waiting. The only question is, will you continue to negotiate with your fears, Or will you finally claim the confidence that is your birthright? The Stoics showed us the way. Now it's time to walk the path.